The massive alien armada appeared at the edge of the solar system without warning. Just another Tuesday morning when Dr. Kim Ji-woo was sipping her coffee, staring at the monitor screens that had suddenly lit up with alerts. She blinked twice, hoping it was just a system error. It wasn't. "Sir, you need to see this," she called to her supervisor, hands trembling slightly as she pulled up the satellite imagery. Across Earth's Unified Defense Coalition headquarters, similar scenes played out. Operators froze at their stations, scientists dropped their equipment, and military personnel rushed to battle stations. The approaching fleet, hundreds of ships of various sizes, moved with clear purpose toward our planet. Dr. Kim had spent her entire career preparing for this moment. As head of the newly formed Extraterrestrial Communication Division, she'd always believed first contact would happen during her lifetime. But not like this. Not with what was clearly an invasion force. "How long until they reach Earth?" asked President Choi, her voice steady despite the chaos unfolding in the Emergency Command Center. "At their current speed, 4 days," replied Defense Minister Han, pointing to the trajectory map. "They've already passed Neptune's orbit." The room fell silent. Humanity had long speculated about alien life, but now faced with its reality, the world's leaders seemed momentarily lost for words. "We need to talk to them," Dr. Kim said, breaking the silence. "Before anything else, we need to understand their intentions." "Their intentions seem pretty clear to me," muttered General Park Tae-ho, studying the formation of the approaching fleet. "That's not a diplomatic convoy." For the next 48 hours, Dr. Kim and her team worked without breaks, broadcasting messages on every conceivable frequency and using every theoretical communication protocol they'd developed. Just when they were about to give up hope, their screens flickered. The alien's face, if you could call it that, appeared. It had no features recognizable as eyes or mouth, just shifting patterns of light across a surface that reminded Dr. Kim of flowing water. When it spoke, the sound came not from the screen but seemed to form directly in their minds. "Your planet has resources we require. Your resistance would be futile and unnecessary. Surrender your world, and your people may live as our subjects." President Choi stepped forward. "We wish to negotiate peaceful terms. Surely there's a solution that—" "There is nothing to negotiate," the alien interrupted. "You have 48 Earth hours to prepare your surrender protocols. Any resistance will result in immediate extinction measures." The transmission ended as abruptly as it had begun. In the heavy silence that followed, General Park spoke first. "Madam President, we need to show them what humanity is capable of." Dr. Kim expected arguments, lengthy debates about diplomacy versus military action. Instead, something remarkable happened. The room full of different countries' representatives, people who often bickered over trade deals and border disputes, unified instantly. "We will not surrender," President Choi said simply. "Not today, not ever." The next 12 hours saw the fastest mobilization in human history. While civilians worldwide were informed of the situation, causing initial panic that gradually transformed into determined resolve, military leaders from every nation pooled their resources and secrets. Dr. Kim was shocked to learn how much had been hidden away. It seemed every major power had been secretly preparing for this day, developing technologies far beyond what was publicly known. "We've been monitoring deep space signals for decades," explained Director Wu of the Chinese Space Agency, unveiling plans for orbital defense platforms that had been secretly constructed and hidden in plain sight, disguised as communication satellites. The Russian general nodded. "As have we. Our quantum displacement technology can target their largest vessels, and our AI combat systems can disrupt their formations," added the American admiral. One by one, each nation revealed their secret weapons and defense systems, pieces of a puzzle that, when combined, formed humanity's best hope. 24 hours. Before the aliens' deadline, Earth was ready, not to surrender but to make a statement. "We'll give them one chance," President Choi announced to the Unified Defense Council. "One chance to turn back." Dr. Kim crafted the message herself, simple and direct. We have observed your approach and heard your demands. We offer you this single opportunity to reconsider. Earth will not surrender, Earth will not fall. Turn back now. As the message was transmitted, General Park gave the order. A single quantum displacement weapon, one of thousands humanity had secretly developed, fired at Phobos, one of Mars's moons. The entire coalition watched as the small moon simply ceased to exist, transformed into energy in a controlled demonstration of power. Let them see what we can do with just one weapon, General Park said quietly. Let them understand who they're dealing with. The alien response came 3 hours later. The same featureless flowing face appeared on their screens. Your primitive display does not impress us. Your extinction begins tomorrow. Dr. Kim felt a cold resolve settle over her as she looked around the room at the determined faces of Earth's leaders. The aliens had made their choice. They had been given their chance to turn back. Now they would learn why that had been their only chance. General Park Tae-ho hadn't slept in 36 hours. The weight of Earth's defense rested on his shoulders, and he carried it with the quiet determination that had defined his 20-year military career. Standing before the enormous holographic display in the command center, he watched as the alien fleet passed Mars's orbit. They're not even slowing down, muttered Captain Lee, his second-in-command. Our warning meant nothing to them. Park nodded, slowly. Because they think we're bluffing. He turned to face the room of military leaders and scientists who waited for his orders. They believe what they want to believe, that we're primitive, that we're weak. The room fell silent. Through the large windows of the command center, they could see ordinary citizens in the streets below, going about their days with a strange mix of normalcy and tension. Most had seen the news broadcasts about the approaching aliens, yet somehow life continued. Children went to school, workers went to offices, but nobody talked about anything else. The Phobos demonstration was just the beginning, Park said, his voice cutting through the silence. We need something bigger, something they can't ignore. Dr. Kim Ji-woo, who had been working with the communication team, stepped forward. General, I've been analyzing their response patterns. They communicate differently than we do, not just in language but in how they process information. They seem to respect only overwhelming force. Then that's what we'll show them, Park replied. He turned to the weapons specialist. Is the quantum displacement array fully operational? Yes, sir. All orbital platforms are ready. The ground-based systems need another 6 hours. Park nodded. We don't have 6 hours. We'll proceed with what we have. The plan was daring, perhaps even reckless. But humanity didn't have the luxury of caution. Park had spent his entire career preparing for wars that never came, hoping his preparations would never be needed. Now, facing an enemy from beyond the stars, every simulation, every drill, every sleepless night spent reviewing defense protocols suddenly made sense. Launch the drones, he ordered. Within minutes, thousands of small unmanned craft swarmed from hidden bases on Earth, the Moon, and Mars. To any observer, they would appear to be simple reconnaissance vehicles, eyes to watch, the approaching enemy. The aliens seemed to think the same, barely adjusting their course as the drones approached. They're in position, reported the drone commander. Park took a deep breath. Initiate protocol thunderclap. Across the solar system, the seemingly harmless drones suddenly changed. Each one carried a miniature version of the quantum displacement technology that humans had discovered by accident 15 years earlier and kept hidden from public knowledge. Not because it was dangerous, though it certainly was, but because the military minds of Earth understood something fundamental about survival. You never show all your cards. The drones detonated in perfect sequence, creating a ripple effect of controlled quantum displacement that tore through space directly in the path of the alien armada. It wasn't designed to destroy their ships, not yet. This was about sending a message. A massive shockwave of energy washed over the lead alien vessels, disrupting their systems and forcing several smaller ships to veer off course. For the first time, the alien fleet's perfect formation faltered. Open a communication channel, Park ordered. Dr. Kim quickly established the link. On screen, the same fluid, featureless alien representative appeared. But this time, subtle patterns of disturbance crossed its surface. The alien equivalent of concern, perhaps even fear. Park stepped forward. This demonstration used less than 5% of our defensive capabilities. We have weapons positioned throughout the solar system that you haven't detected. We have technologies you haven't anticipated. You came to our home assuming we would be easy prey. You were wrong. He paused, letting his words sink in. I am authorized by Earth's United Defense Council to make this final statement. Turn back now, and we will allow your retreat. Continue your approach, and not a single ship in your fleet will survive to tell others of your mistake. The alien was silent for a long moment. When it responded, its mental voice seemed less certain than before. Your species is young. You cannot possess the technology to defeat us. We have conquered hundreds of worlds. But none of them were Earth, Park replied simply. None of them were home to humans. Back on Earth, people gathered around screens to watch the exchange. In homes and public squares, humans held their breath collectively. Some prayed, others prepared for the worst. But something unexpected was happening. Instead of panic, a sense of unity spread across continents and cultures. Old enemies set aside differences. Rich and poor stood shoulder to shoulder. If this was humanity's last stand, they would make it together. In the command center, the tactical officer spoke quietly. Sir, the alien fleet is... They're slowing down. A murmur ran through the room. Park's expression didn't change, but his eyes narrowed slightly. They're reassessing, Dr. Kim whispered. They actually doubt themselves now. For 3 long hours, the alien fleet remained motionless beyond Mars. Then, without warning, they resumed their approach. They're continuing toward Earth, Captain Lee announced, disappointment evident in his voice. Park nodded slowly. He had hoped it wouldn't come to this, but he wasn't surprised. They still believe they're superior. They think our warning was the best we could do. He turned to face his team. Prepare all defense systems. If they want to learn the hard way, we'll teach them exactly what humanity is capable of when pushed to the edge. As the alien ships moved inexorably toward Earth, humans worldwide prepared for the fight of their lives. They had given their invaders one chance to turn back. That chance had now expired. The underground hangar stretched for miles beneath the Himalayan mountains, a secret that fewer than 300 people on Earth had known about until today. Dr. Kim Ji-woo stood at the railing, watching as thousands of workers prepped machinery that had been built in silence over decades. It's incredible, she whispered more to herself than to anyone else. Beside her, General Park nodded. Every major nation contributed. Even when we were pointing missiles at each other during the Cold War, we were building this together. The RAW, massive space-housed row upon row of defensive systems, autonomous battle drones, gravity disruptors, and things Dr. Kim couldn't even identify. Some seemed to bend light around them, making it hard to focus directly on their shapes. How did you keep this hidden for so long? She asked. Park smiled slightly. The same way we've kept most of our advanced tech hidden. People see what they expect to see. Black budget projects dismissed as conspiracy theories. Unexplained phenomena written off as hoaxes. All the while we've been preparing. Throughout human history, people had looked to the stars with both wonder and fear. The question wasn't if aliens existed, but when they would arrive, and whether they would come as friends or foes. The world's governments had prepared for both possibilities. The evacuation is proceeding on schedule, reported Captain Lee, approaching with a tablet. 80% of major coastal populations have been moved to the inland shelters. The evacuation had begun immediately after the aliens rejected Earth's warning. In an unprecedented global operation, billions of people were being relocated to underground facilities and hardened bunkers. What amazed Dr. Kim wasn't just the scale of the operation, but how smoothly it was going. There was surprisingly little panic. People are stronger than we give them credit for, Park said, noting her expression. When faced with extinction, petty differences suddenly don't matter so much. In cities worldwide, neighbors who had never spoken were now helping each other pack essential belongings. Religious leaders of different faiths prayed side by side. Former enemies worked together to distribute supplies and organize transport. Dr. Kim's team had set up a temporary lab in the hangar's research wing. For 3 days straight, they had been analyzing the alien communications intercepted during the brief exchanges. Now, finally, they had a breakthrough. They use a quantum entanglement method for their ship-to-ship communication, she explained to the assembled military leaders. It's incredibly efficient, and normally would be impossible to intercept, but there's a pattern to the quantum signatures, almost like an accent in their technology. She pulled up a complex diagram on the screen. We can't block their communications entirely, but we can introduce noise into their system. It would be like trying to have a conversation while 1,000 people are shouting around you. General Park leaned forward. And this disruption, how long would it take to implement? We've already started, Dr. Kim replied with a small smile. My team uploaded the interference program to our satellite network 6 hours ago. By the time the aliens reach Earth orbit, their communication efficiency will be reduced by 60%. For the first time in days, Park allowed himself a moment of hope. Perhaps humanity stood a chance after all. Across the planet, similar preparations were underway. In the Pacific Ocean, naval engineers activated the seafloor defense grid, massive electromagnetic pulse generators that could disable any technology passing overhead. In orbit, seemingly ordinary satellites suddenly revealed hidden weapon systems as their outer shells reconfigured. Most impressive were the gravity wells, devices that could manipulate the very fabric of space-time, creating localized distortions that would trap enemy ships like flies in honey. These had been humanity's most closely guarded secret, developed after a breakthrough in unified field theory, made by a young physicist who had died before receiving the Nobel Prize her work deserved. The aliens have detected some of our orbital defenses, reported the radar technician. They're adjusting their approach vector. Park nodded. As expected, let them see what we want them to see. The true strength of Earth's defense lay not just in its technology, but in its strategy. For decades, military planners had worked under a simple assumption. Any species advanced enough for interstellar travel would have superior technology. Victory wouldn't come from matching their firepower, but from outthinking them. In his quarters, during a rare moment of rest, Park looked at an old photograph of his grandfather, who had fought in wars that once seemed so important, but now felt small compared to what humanity faced. He wondered what the old man would think of this moment, the entire human race standing together against an external threat. Meanwhile, in the civilian shelters, people found ways to maintain their humanity. Children were taught in makeshift classrooms. Musicians performed to lift spirits. Doctors treated the sick with unwavering dedication. In one shelter in what had been South Korea, an elderly woman distributed homemade kimchi from her family recipe. We must keep our traditions, she told those around her, no matter what happens. This perhaps was humanity's greatest strength, not the weapons hidden throughout the solar system or the brilliant scientific minds working around the clock, but the stubborn refusal to surrender what made them human. As the alien fleet entered Earth's orbit, Dr. Kim made one final check of her disruption program. Captain Lee confirmed that all defense systems were operational, and General Park gave the order that would begin humanity's first interstellar war. All units prepare to engage. Remember your training. Remember what we're fighting for. He paused, looking at the faces around him. People from every nation, united in purpose. They came expecting to find an easy conquest. Let's show them exactly what they found instead. Throughout the solar system, humanity's hidden defenses awakened. The battle for Earth was about to begin. The first shots of the war weren't fired from guns but launched from computers. As the alien fleet entered Earth's orbit, engineer Lee Sunmi sat before a bank of screens, her fingers flying across 3 keyboards simultaneously. Around her, a team of the world's best hackers and systems specialists worked with intense focus, their faces lit by the glow of monitors. Disruption protocol at 70% and climbing, she announced, voice steady, despite the weight of what they were doing. Their ships are starting to show communication lags. In the main command center, General Park watched as the massive holographic display showed the alien formation begin to falter. Ships that had moved with perfect synchronization for days were now slightly out of alignment, like dancers missing their cues. "They're confused," Captain Lee observed. "They expected us to either surrender or launch a conventional attack." Park nodded. "And they certainly didn't expect us to understand their communication systems." He turned to the weapons. "Officer, activate the first wave of orbital platforms. Around Earth, hundreds of satellites that had appeared dormant suddenly came to life. To any observer on the ground, they would have looked like ordinary communication satellites. The aliens had scanned them days ago and dismissed them as primitive technology. They couldn't have been more wrong. The satellites fired in perfect sequence, unleashing precisely targeted quantum displacement beams at the largest alien vessels. Unlike conventional weapons that would have exploded on impact, these beams simply caused portions of the targeted ships to cease existing, matter converted instantly to energy in controlled reactions. On the main viewer, the alien flagship suddenly lost an entire section, as if someone had taken an eraser to a drawing. The ship listed sideways, venting atmosphere and debris. "Direct hit," reported the tactical officer, unable to keep a note of satisfaction from her voice. "Their flagship is crippled." The alien response was immediate and furious. Energy weapons lanced down from their remaining ships targeting major cities. But instead of finding vulnerable targets, their beams encountered invisible shields. Another technology humans had kept hidden, reverse-engineered from studying natural phenomena in Earth's magnetosphere. In her workstation, Lee Sun-mi allowed herself a small smile as her disruption algorithm reached full effectiveness. The alien communications were now so compromised that their fleet movements had become visibly erratic. Ships fired at empty space or nearly collided with each other as conflicting orders spread through their ranks. "The gravity wells are in position," announced the science officer. "Ready on your command." Park nodded. "Activate." In strategic positions around Earth orbit, the gravity well generators came online. Space itself seemed to warp and twist as localized distortions created powerful gravitational fields. Smaller alien craft were caught immediately, pulled inexorably toward the centers of these artificial singularities. Larger ships fired their engines to maximum power, struggling to break free of the unexpected trap. "They're adapting," warned Captain Lee, pointing to the display where several alien vessels had managed to modify their shields to resist the gravitational pull. "Changing their shield frequencies." This was expected. Any advanced species would be adaptable. But humanity had prepared for this too. "Initiate Prometheus Protocol," ordered Park. Deep in the Pacific Ocean, in the Mariana Trench, a facility that officially didn't exist powered up the largest electromagnetic pulse generator ever built. The pulse shot upward through the atmosphere, carefully calibrated to avoid damaging Earth's own technology, while targeting the specific frequencies now being used by the alien shields. For a brief moment, the alien fleet went dark as their systems reset. In that crucial window of vulnerability, Earth struck again. The nanite clouds, microscopic robots developed initially for medical applications, were released from launch platforms hidden on the moon. Trillions of these tiny machines swarmed toward the alien vessels, infiltrating through hull breaches and ventilation systems. Once inside, they began disassembling critical systems with terrifying efficiency. On the main viewer, Park watched as alien ships began to drift, their lights flickering. "They're experiencing cascade failures," reported the tactical officer. "The nanites are working, but the aliens weren't defeated yet. Their remaining functional ships regrouped and changed tactics, launching smaller attack craft that darted toward Earth with incredible speed. "They're targeting our defense control centers," Captain Lee said urgently. "They've identified the command nodes." This too had been anticipated. The real control centers were buried deep underground. What the aliens targeted were decoys, elaborate fakes designed to draw their fire. As the alien attack craft expended their weapons on empty buildings and hardened bunkers containing only backup systems, Earth's ground-based defenses came online. Railguns, originally designed as theoretical prototypes, fired hypervelocity projectiles that tore through the small alien ships like tissue paper. In cities worldwide, civilians watched from shelter viewing screens as the battle raged overhead. Many had expected to feel terror, but instead found themselves filled with fierce pride. This was humanity fighting back. In the command center, a cheer went up as the alien fleet's formation completely collapsed. What had begun as an organized invasion was deteriorating into chaos. Ships fired blindly, fled in random directions, or drifted powerless. "We're winning," breathed Captain Lee in disbelief. Park shook his head. "We're surviving. That's enough, for now." The battle continued for hours, the tide gradually turning in Earth's favor. The aliens attempted several tactical adjustments. Each one met with a countermeasure that seemed impossibly prescient. What they couldn't understand was that humanity had spent centuries preparing for this moment. Not deliberately, perhaps, but in their bones, humans had always looked to the stars with both wonder and wariness. Through countless science fiction stories, films, and games, they had imagined this scenario thousands of times. They had been rehearsing for this fight before they even knew it would come. As the last major alien vessel attempted to flee Earth orbit, General Park gave a final order: disable their engines, leave their life support intact. The quantum displacement beam took the ship's propulsion system with surgical precision, leaving the craft adrift but habitable. "Send the message," Park instructed Dr. Kim, who had joined them in the command center. Her voice was steady as she transmitted the words that would change humanity's place in the galaxy forever. "Your fleet is defeated. Your invasion has failed. Now we will discuss terms." Diplomat Kang Do-yun straightened his simple gray suit and took a deep breath. After a 20-year career negotiating peace between hostile nations, nothing had prepared him for this moment, representing all of humanity to an alien species that had just tried to conquer Earth. The meeting location had been carefully chosen: a repurposed conference room aboard the International Space Station. Neutral territory, or as close as they could manage. The station had been quickly modified to accommodate the alien atmosphere requirements, a gesture of good faith that Kang hoped would set the right tone. "Remember," General Park had told him before he departed Earth, "we're negotiating from a position of strength, but our goal isn't humiliation, it's security." As the airlock cycled open, Kang got his first in-person look at the aliens. Their bodies were vaguely humanoid but moved with an unsettling fluidity, as if their bones weren't quite solid. Their skin shimmered with patterns of light that seemed to correspond to their emotional states, currently pulsing with what Kang interpreted as anxiety and defeat. The lead alien, who had introduced itself as the fleet commander, spoke directly into Kang's mind. "We are prepared to discuss the terms of our withdrawal." Kang nodded, maintaining his diplomatic composure despite the strange sensation of hearing words without sound. "Please be seated." He gestured to the specially designed chairs that would accommodate their unusual physiology. The commander settled awkwardly, clearly unused to negotiating with species it had intended to conquer. "Your defenses were unexpected. Our intelligence indicated your civilization was at least 3 centuries behind this level of technology. Your intelligence was working with limited information," Kang replied carefully. "Humanity has learned that survival sometimes depends on keeping certain advances private." Around the table sat representatives from Earth's Unified Council, scientists, military leaders, and fellow diplomats. Dr. Kim Ji-woo was there to analyze alien communications, while General Park's presence served as a reminder of Earth's newly demonstrated military capability. "Let me be direct," Kang continued. "Your attack on our world was unprovoked and unjustified. You came as conquerors, not as visitors. Yet despite this, we're not seeking revenge." The alien commander's skin flashed patterns of surprise. "You would show mercy?" "We would show wisdom," Kang corrected. "War benefits neither of us, but peace must come with guarantees." From his briefcase, Kang removed a small holographic projector and activated it. A detailed star map appeared above the table, showing Earth's solar system and surrounding space extending several hundred light-years in all directions. "These are our terms," he said, his voice taking on the formal tone he'd used in countless high-stakes negotiations. "First, your people will withdraw not just from Earth but from this entire sector." He indicated a substantial region of space on the map. The aliens' lights pulsed rapidly. "That includes 17 star systems with valuable resources. Systems you have no right to claim," Kang countered smoothly. "Second, you will acknowledge Earth and its colonies as sovereign territory, protected under whatever laws govern interstellar relations in the wider galaxy. You ask much for a species that has just discovered it is not alone," the commander replied. Kang allowed himself a small smile. "That brings me to our third condition. You believe we just discovered the wider galactic community. You are incorrect." He nodded to Dr. Kim, who activated another holographic display. This one showed detailed maps of alien trading routes, diplomatic channels, and military movements throughout the galaxy. Information that should have been impossible for humans to possess. "We've been watching for decades," Kang explained as the alien commander's skin pattern shifted to what appeared to be shock. "Our deep space monitoring stations detected your communications. Our stealth probes have mapped your territories. We know about the Galactic Council. We know about the trade disputes in the Orion Spur. We know about your species' history of expansion through conquest." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity hadn't just defended itself by luck or last-minute ingenuity. They had been preparing, studying, and waiting. "How?" the commander finally asked. "How did we not detect your observation?" General Park spoke for the first time. "Because you saw what you expected to see. A primitive world, broadcasting simple radio signals and launching basic spacecraft. You never looked deeper because your assumptions blinded you." Kang nodded. "Which brings me to our final condition. You will return to your people with a message. Earth is not to be threatened again. We wish to join the galactic community peacefully as equals, not as subjects or as conquerors." The negotiations continued for hours, working through details of borders, communication protocols, and verification measures. Throughout it all, Kang maintained the same calm but firm demeanor that had resolved wars on Earth. When the agreement was finally reached, the alien commander performed a gesture that Dr. Kim later explained was a sign of deep respect in their culture. "We misjudged your kind," the commander admitted. "A costly error we will not repeat." As the alien delegation prepared to return to their remaining vessel, Kang asked a question that had been bothering him since the invasion began. "Why Earth? With all the worlds in the galaxy, why come here?" The commander's skin pattern shifted to something almost wistful. "Your world is rare, perfect conditions, abundant resources. But more than that, our long-range scans detected something unique about your species. An adaptability. A resilience we haven't seen elsewhere. We thought it made you valuable as subjects." The alien made a sound, almost like a laugh. "We now understand it makes you dangerous as enemies and potentially valuable as allies." After the aliens departed, Earth began its recovery. Cities were rebuilt. People returned to their homes. The unified council that had formed to face the invasion remained, transforming into humanity's first truly global government. In the years that followed, human ships ventured beyond the solar system for the first time, officially at least. They were greeted with caution and respect by the wider galactic community, who had heard the story of how a seemingly primitive world had defeated one of the most powerful fleets in the quadrant. Diplomat Kang, now serving as Earth's first ambassador to the Galactic Council, often reflected on that pivotal moment when humanity's fate hung in the balance. They had given the aliens just one chance to turn back. The aliens had ignored the warning, never suspecting that Earth's apparent weakness concealed its greatest strength, the stubborn, clever, unbreakable will of humans who were protecting their home.